Welcome to Okaloosa Today, local news and information. Connecting the communities of Fort Walton Beach, Destin, and Okaloosa County.
Welcome to Okaloosa Today, and news about your county and the city of Destin and the city of Fort Walton Beach. And I would like to welcome our guest, which is our new county administrator, Ernie Padgett. Welcome, Ernie.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, some people said, why in the world would you come out of retirement to take a county administrator job? So why don't we start with that?
Well, I've been asked that question a good many times over the last couple, 3 months, and you know, I've had a good career in county government. I've been in 3 counties in Florida over the last 23 years. And so my wife and I are both from Northwest Florida. My wife's from Pensacola, and I'm from a little town of Mariana over near Tallahassee. And we spent our last tour duty in Manatee County, which is county seat Bradenton, Tampa Bay area. And but once we retired, moved back to North Florida, always thought that maybe if a county opened up in Northwest Florida, because I didn't want to go to Central Florida again or South Florida, so Okaloosa did. We thought about it quite a bit, all the pros and cons, and decided I would throw my hat in the ring, and fortunately I was selected. Well,
and we're glad you did, Ernie. I mean, I think your experience that you bring will really help this county, and like you said, it's a what did you say? It's a new morning in Okaloosa County.
It's morning in Okaloosa County.
It's morning in Okaloosa County.
Right.
I like that. So tell us a little bit. You did say a little bit about yourself. Is there anything else? So you've lived in Florida always.
Mm-hmm. Sure
That's
have.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, you've been here a couple of months now. Describe for us what that has been like. Some of your observations, expectations, and surprises. How about that?
Okay. 2 months on the job. These 2 months have, of course, gone by very quickly, you know, when you're busy. In the administrative profession, it's known that the worst time to come into a new county is like during the spring, because they're hustling, they're having to start, the administrator and the budget people are starting to put together the very preliminary stages of a budget. The best time to come into a county is probably like October 1st, when a budget is put together and in effect.
Right.
So then you got about 6-7 months of breathing room, but I came in on April 17th. But I'm glad, because that gives me a chance to hit it running, be a part of putting this budget together. I have until July the 15th to present it to the Board of County Commissioners, and then of course, then we go into our workshops, and then they take what I've given them and the recommendations that I've made, because under administrative type government, they set the policy, I carry it out on a daily basis. In the budgetary process, I'll give them a budget. They give me the professional courtesy that I can make recommendations. And then at that point, it's handed over to them. And once they go into their budget workshops, then they may say, well, we like this, this, and this, or, you know, we're not going to do anything on this revenue source or that one or whatever. And then at that point, they'll ask me to make possibly any adjustments. So then I go back and start working with staff and doing that.
They being our 5 elected Okaloosa County Commissioners. So, yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Well, let's talk a little bit about the budget. You know, it is complex, you know, and we certainly want to make sure that our citizens understand the process and can engage in the process with us. So, you know, it has been, not just for Okaloosa, but all of our surrounding counties, our state, and our United States, challenging economic conditions in the last 5-6 years. we here in Okaloosa County have looked at lower revenues from our taxes, and really half the general fund revenue that we had 5-6 years ago. So we've had 6 years of reductions. We've had 6 years of staff reductions, of trying to hold the line. But as you say, government it needs to hum along, and we're kind of rattling a little bit, aren't we?
Well, the 5 years that the county has gone through, they've had to make some very, very tough decisions, unpleasant decisions. But this is not dissimilar from all 67 counties in the state of Florida.
Absolutely
state
not.
Government, federal government. They're all going through this. The economy went south on us in 2008, starting in 2007. People in government have had to make hard decisions. This county's had to make some very hard decisions over the last 5 years, going into the 6th year now. Staff has been reduced by 100. Probably the net effect is more like 80 something.
I think it's 89 to be exact.
So there's 89 fewer employees now than there was, say, 5 years ago. But what happens when you have to do this year after year after year, there's only so much you can do, because you're on a downward spiral, because we are obligated to provide an acceptable level of a bundle of services to our citizens. They expect it, they want it. Our job is to try to figure out where that level of services need to be.
According to public safety, essential services, and quality of life issues. That's kind of how I kind of like to divide it, and how we in our management capacities in our departments kind of through our 15-16 departments divide it is in those 3 categories. Those are the services we provide.
And you have to prioritize. Some services, of course, mean more to people than other services do.
Right.
So the policymakers have to make these hard decisions on trying to find out, okay, these are your primary services, and write them down, and what's the level of service there. The big challenge is, whether it's a family, whether it's a private business, you have to, for an example, whether we're talking about equipment, whether we're talking about capital improvements in this county, these things have pretty well been put on hold. And what you'll see, let's just say for all the equipment we have throughout this county, if you let that go too long without replacements, whether we're talking ambulances, whether we're talking the sheriff's department and squad cars, regardless of what we're talking about, you need to have a basic level of replacement, or if you don't, you'll start spending more money on maintenance of junk than if you would have stayed on with a replacement program. This is where we are now. Employees, our employees hadn't seen any kind of increase in over 5 years. Actually, been, if you're not going ahead, you're going, as far as inflation, you're losing ground. These are things that we're going to really have to look at this year, and the board is going to have to make some hard decisions. So I've been fortunate since I've gotten here. I think we have overall, and I'm sure there's exceptions to this, but overall, I think Okaloosa County has a good workforce, and they've certainly helped me as I'm coming up to speed on the budget and having to make some final decisions. So the 2 months have been a whirlwind. Most of the time has probably been
it's been on budget.
Budgetary type things.
Well, let's talk about one of those. Let's talk about capital projects. I know it says in our policy document. Again, that's our budget policy document. Any citizen can read this on our website at OkaloosaFL.com. I mean, we're looking at a new roof for corrections. I need a new roof on my house, and I'm going to have to figure out a way to buy that new roof on the house. And just like you're doing at home, we have to do that for the county. We're going to have to figure out a way to address some of these issues, like some of the issues that corrections is having, like you say, in equipment, doors, rooftops. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, and those are just a few examples of a lot of areas that we have to look at. Budgetarily, that's it. Setting a budget is policy making, and
right.
Of course, this county has gone through their trials and tribulations, and we're not out of it yet. That's why I put in our little county newsletter, quoted from a gentleman in Washington many years ago, that it's morning in America. Well, I'm saying as a county administrator, folks, we're working on this, and it's morning in Okaloosa County. We have people know we have the state auditors here. They're looking at things because of the TDC type situation. We have to make sure that we have, as far as accountability and record keeping, we need to make sure that there's good check and balances when we're spending taxpayers, i.e. public dollars. And that's certainly our obligation to do that. So as the new administrator, actually I'm working with the auditors, because the way I look at it is a good audit is a great management tool. Help us to see where we have deficiencies as far as things that we do for check and balances, because we can fix those things. It's not rocket science. We can fix them very quickly. So the end result, when the day's over, we'll have a better organization because of all this. Now, we wish this county didn't have to go through all that to get there, but we're going through a fine-tuning process right now.
Right, and let's talk about that a little bit, because a lot of people get confused over the tax dollars. Of course, the tourist tax dollars, of course, we want to remind everybody, is the bed taxes. When you stay in a hotel, there is a certain pennies that then go toward that TDC, and so that is not your ad valorem taxes. We really try to specify the difference in those two different kinds of taxes, and you can only spend those tourism taxes on certain things, and you can only spend those ad valorem taxes on certain things. So and then even within our departments, we have discretionary and non-discretionary, or some might call them enterprise funds, where, for example, in water and sewer, you pay for your water and sewer service. So those are considered enterprise funds because they are a fee for a service. So we definitely want to distinguish between that and ad valorem as well, so that everybody understands when they are looking at these budgets, and hopefully joining us in our budget hearings or watching them online, that they understand what
Kathy,
we're talking about.
This is why these type things, like what we're doing here today, this is why this is good, because sometimes, it's been my experience in looking back, sometimes government, what I call, runs out ahead of the people. If we were private enterprise, and let's say it was you and I and 3 or 4 other board members, a lot of times in private enterprise, getting to figure out, okay, what's the best route for us to go in the near future, in the distant future. A lot of times those decisions are not hard to make. In government, we figure out what way we need to go, but it's just starting at that point. We have to make sure that our citizens are aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I stay away from using the term that we have to educate the public. The public does not like for you to use, you got to educate them. What we're doing is it's an information flow. We're making sure that the more a government slows down and makes sure that their citizens have the information in as much as the policymakers do, or that should be your goal, the better off the citizens are going to be there to help you. It's been my experience that citizens, they don't mind paying their fair share of taxes for their services. Now, they don't want to pay taxes for everybody along their street. They don't want to pay someone else's. They don't mind paying a fair amount of tax. So we have to make sure that we're letting our citizens know what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have certainly had to learn all this since I have been working for the county, so to understand the budget myself. So I'm right there with the citizens, as many of you are, trying to figure this stuff out as we go along. Well, what about our constitutional officers? They're also going to present their budgets. Can you talk about that a little bit? And have you had any experience with that yet, or for Okaloosa?
I've met with all of our constitutional officers, actually 2 rounds. The other elected officials. The first couple weeks I was here, just made a courtesy call on all, property tax collector, sheriff, clerk of the court, all those, supervisor of election. And also, they have participated in our budgeting process, because they'll meet with myself and my staff and they'll present the parts of, the parts of their budget which they're required under law to present. So I've been able to talk with them relative to budgetary things at this point, and I'm looking forward to working with all the elected officials, because we have to. The better we interface and get along and have the common goal, the smoother things work, and the less costly the services are.
Right, and we certainly appreciate your perspective on that. And I also would like to share a few of the positive things that we have done, and we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the future as far as that goes, hopefully. But we have eliminated $61,000 annually in rental by building the EOC and by moving some of our offices to the old Fort Walton Beach Hospital. We are still in the process of renovating the old Fort Walton Beach Hospital, so there's still a lot of work to be done, and other rental income out there to be saved if hopefully we can work on those as capital projects and improve some of our facilities to the point that we can move some of our offices that are renting and even other constitutional offices into those facilities that we do own.
We've got to continue to work on a good space allocation plan. I just, within the hour, I just got back from going room to room at the Shalimar Annex with our facilities director to figure out what are we going to do with that building. And we're in negotiations right now with the Meggs family, because there's a reverter clause that if the building is not used to a certain level for judicial functions, it reverts back to the estate. We're in the process of negotiating with them, because we need to be relieved of that reverter clause, because we have a new judicial complex now.
Right.
We don't need it there at Shalimar, but we need that space for other things. And
Absolutely.
as you stated, whether we renovate that or whatever, we'll have a lot of space to bring people into a county facility from facilities that we're having to pay rent, and there'll be a at the end of the day there'll be a cost savings.
Absolutely.
So we're working through the what I call the space allocation, and we really need to stay focused on that, starting this year.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to move into our public information update. So nice for our viewers that haven't met you yet to be able to put a face with our new county administrator, and enjoy doing the show with you today, Ernie.
Well,
and
you.
We will move on to our public information update. If you need a rain barrel or a compost bin, they do have some left from the truckload sale at Solid Waste. Just call 689-5772. Also, just this week in Tuesday night's County Commission meeting, the Restore Advisory members have all been selected now, and I will read them very quickly. They represent environmental, education, business, tourism, fishing, and seafood, and they will be making decisions on how we spend those Restore funds, which is the BP settlement. So Councilman Thomas Gordon from Okaloosa League of Cities, North County, Crestview, Mayor Sam Severs, Okaloosa League of Cities, South County, Destin, Gary Jarvis, Charter Boat Association and Fishermen's Co-op, Dr. Jack Azaretto, Greater Fort Walton Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, Dr. David Getch from Niceville, Valparaiso Chamber of Commerce, Board Member Cindy Frakes, Okaloosa County School Board, Kay Rasmussen, Okaloosa County Economic Development Council, Martin Owen, Tourism Industry, Steve Shippey, Environmental Member, Jonathan Tallman, Citizen at Large, and James Brightonfield, Citizen at Large. So these members were selected based on that criteria of business, city, school, education involvement, and the fishing and seafood and tourism industry. Okaloosa County still needs some volunteers in other areas. We need a member on the Value Adjustment Board. Okaloosa County Parks Advisory Committee needs a District 5 representative, and you can also the Okaloosa County Commission on the Status of Women. So contact your Okaloosa County commissioners. And up next is Doug Rayner from the City of Destin.